Essentially, there are three types of activities that happen in an early years setting, and that's the same whether you're working in baby unit, toddlers, preschool, or even older than preschool. There's these three activity types that happen. One, which is the most structured type of activity, is an adult led activity. The second is an adult initiated activity. And the third is a child led activity or an independent activity. So let's just quickly review those. An adult led activity is where the adult or the practitioner who's working in the room will lead an activity, will provide instructions, will guide the children to a certain way of doing things. Now, it could include child exploration. It could include children making choices of what they do and how they do it. But essentially, it's an adult-led activity. Classic examples of this is a classroom story time or a classroom circle time or a music lesson or a music activity. It could be a table, for example, with a group of 2-year-olds where an adult is leading a painting activity using cars, for example, going through trays of paint and making marks on the paper. The adult has set that up. The adult is sat at the activity, guiding and supporting children. There's 5 spaces here. You're the 6th one that wants to do it. So we don't have room right now. So play something else and come back. Right, so put your apron on, boys and girls. And the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to choose a car and you're going to choose a colour of the paint that you want to use. And we'll roll out the paper. So although children can explore and make it their own in some way, it's really an adult guided led activity. The activity is done in a certain way. It has rules around it that the adult has set, and that is an adult led activity, a taught activity. It can be with babies, it can be with very, very young children. You still can deliver an adult led activity. For example, baby massage. We're going to get out baby oil, we're going to get out essential oils and strip the children down, and we're going to do massage with the children. That's very, very much an adult-led activity. That's the adult leading that activity and doing that baby massage with the babies. So that's an adult-led activity. And the example of the paint with the cars is another example of an adult-led activity. Generally, an adult-led activity has a beginning, a middle, and an end, depending on how you deliver that activity, whether it's a flow in and flow out, or whether it's a set time activity. There's a specific learning intention in mind that the adult has thought about and that the adult has created, and they've built the activity or the idea around a specific learning intention for a specific reason. Perhaps it might be a floating and sinking activity. What floats, what sinks? You're introducing this vocabulary. You've got your set of sinkers, your set of floaters. You've set up some kind of pool where you can test these things. Maybe there's a chart afterwards, so you've tested whether it floats and sinks, and then you support the children to put it on the floating area or the sinking area on the chart, and then you talk about it. That's an adult-led activity. Then you have adult-initiated activities. This is where an adult doesn't necessarily lead the activity, isn't sitting at the activity for the entire time the activity is running, and the activity isn't reliant on the adult being there in order for it to happen. The adult has set up the activity, has set up the parameters of the activity, has provided the resources, and has set it up in one of the areas of the playroom or outside in the garden. For example, The adult might have set up an obstacle course, but isn't there running the obstacle course. Okay, you've had your turn, next, now it's your turn. Oh, don't miss out this bit. Instead, the adult sets up the obstacle course. While that activity is running, the adult may come back to that obstacle course at different times to readjust it, to make it more difficult or easier, but the adult won't be stationed there all the time. Or for example, there might be a floating and sinking activity that is an adult initiated activity but not an adult led activity. This might be where the adult has provided the things for the children to play with with some things that float and some things that sink, but left it to the children to discover that by themselves without leading it as an activity. The things are just there. The children are playing in the water tray with a range of things, some things that float and some things that sink. The adult may come into that activity at certain points as different children join the water tray and point out to the children, oh, some of the things float, some of the things sink. Which are they? Can you find other things around the room that you could add to the water tray? And then they'll go and let the children continue playing. Adult initiated activities are sometimes called provocations or invitations, where an adult has set up a room or a space in a specific way. They've set up the role play area as a doctor's surgery with doctor's gowns and stethoscopes and pill bottles and appointment books and other things, but they're not there leading it. They've set it up, they've initiated it, they might give the children some ideas, they might come in at some point, enroll to the role play area as a patient trying to check in for their doctor's appointment, or they might come in as a nurse for a few minutes and interact and leave again. They might come in with some additional resources to keep the play or the activity going, but essentially the children are leading it in their own way, in the way that they want to play. So we've looked at adult-led activities, adult-initiated activities, where an adult sets up a space with resources, materials for the children to play with. Could be in a certain way, but it's really the children's choice how they do that. And then there's child-led play or child-led activities. And this is where really the adult has a very different role. It might be the more basic resources or equipment that's there. It might even be that the children are getting their things out of the drawers themselves or out of the off the shelves, the play shelves in the nursery where you have different resources. The children have decided to take the blocks out and they get the blocks out. Or it might be that the magnetiles are out, but it's not set up in a provocation to play in a certain way, as in today with the magnetiles we're building houses. Here's pictures of different houses. That would be adult initiated. But the magnetiles are just out in baskets and the children come and play with those, create, build in their own way. You might have a mark making table where you have crayons and pencils and paper of different shapes and sizes out there, and it's just there. And the children will come to that mark making table and use that and experience it in a way that they want to. If it was an adult initiated activity, you might have a theme around the writing table. You might have stencils that you've put out. Today we're focusing on the letter S, and you've put lots of things on the writing table or the mark making table that would support the children drawing or writing around the letter S. But child-initiated play wouldn't even be that structured in terms of how you set up the activity. So there you have the three categories: adult-led, which is the most structured; adult-initiated, where the adult has created a play scenario, set up some provocations, organised resources in a certain way, pops in and out of the action to guide, support, steer children, but they are very much still left to play in their own way. And then the independent or child-led activities where they're really in control 100%. They're in the driving seat. They decide what they do and how they do it.